Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver, two of the most iconic games of the entire franchise. Without them, the Pokemon series would have likely never continued. In fact, Pokemon Gold and Silver was more of an expansion of Pokemon Red and Blue. Not only does it reintroduce a watered down version of Kanto for us to explore, but also all of the Pokemon introduced in Pokemon Gold and Silver were actually meant to be in Pokemon Red and Blue. One of the best things that Pokemon Gold and Silver did was expand upon the differences between versions. Pokemon Red and Blue each had their own set of exclusive Pokemon for each version. Pokemon Gold and Silver expanded upon this by giving each version their own unique sprites for almost every single Pokemon in the game. But which version had the better sprites? Today we're going to go through all 502 Pokemon sprites to determine which version had the best visual experience, Pokemon Gold or Pokemon Silver. We're going to be going through the National Pokedex, so we're going to be starting from the very beginning, Pokemon number 1, Bulbasaur. Both these designs are great, however the one in Silver version has a little more life to it. His head, the angle it's at, the mouth open, just the pose that he has looks like he's in a stance where he could be attacking or defending, and I guess Gold version kind of has a stance where he looks like he's kind of leaping, but overall Silver version just has much better appeal in my opinion. It's a lot more lifelike. Ivysaur follows a similar pattern where on Gold version he's just kind of standing there staring, and while he does have somewhat of a goofy face on Silver, he could easily be disgusted by the statement you just made or even questioning your intelligence level. Again, the sprite just has more life to it. And with Venusaur, there's no exception here either. Silver version just has more life to the sprite, even without them being animated. There's more flair to this design over Gold version. However, when we get to Charmander here, neither Charmander really stands out to me, but at least the one on Gold version, he's standing there, he's got a pose, whereas in Silver version, I'm not really sure what the hell he's cocking his head to the side for. It's just a little awkward, so I think Gold version kind of takes it on this one. However, with Charmeleon, the roles are reversed, and Gold version's Charmeleon just has a really derp face to him, whereas in Silver version, he's literally already leaping into attack mode, and it's just a really solid sprite. I love Charmeleon in Gem 2. Then we've got Charizard, which is really just, they're almost identical. Just the position of the tail is very slightly different. The arms is really the only significant part that's different. But I gotta go Gold version on this one. Even though his head is a little more to the side, so it's a little more 2D looking, the angle they have for the Silver version Charizard just makes the head look very oddly shaped. Squirtle's another one where both designs are really great, but I feel like Gold version has a little more life to him. I do really like the Silver version pose, but Gold version, he's got his arms out, and his face has a little more life to it, whereas Silver version, he's just kind of mean-mugging you, and so I think Gold version takes this one. Gold version takes Wartortle as well. Again, the facial expression just looks so much better in Gold version, and while you can't really see his shell as much, I really like the pose that he's in this sprite as opposed to the Silver version, which the sprite's very similar to the Squirtle, but doesn't have the same life quality to it. Now with Blastoise, both these sprites are fantastic. Gold version has like the standard Blastoise sprite that you would see in a lot of promotional art. Hell, I believe the old Japanese like Game Boy promo Blastoise, that's pretty much the same art for that card, which is really fantastic. But there's something about the sprite for Silver version where as a turtle, he's down on all fours, cannons are, out front, ready to go, versus, in a normal standing Blastoise pose, they're just kind of up in the air, just ready to shoot at nothing. I think Silver version definitely takes this one. Now, Caterpie's already kind of a lifeless Pokemon anyways, but the Gold version seems like more of a flat, just two-dimensional image, whereas at least Silver version looks a little 3D-ish. This looks like they tried a little better with this one. Metapod is the same way. Again, the one in gold version is just, it's this really flat image from the side, whereas silver version kind of gives you a little bit more of an idea of the shape to a Metapod, but also, again, it just looks a little more three-dimensional compared to the gold version sprite. Butterfree, I'm kind of torn between. I like both of these sprites. Silver version, he's really just kind of flying towards the screen, but there's something about the gold version sprite that it looks better to me, and I really can't tell what it is, but it's overall just looks better. It looks more proportional. Weedle, this sprite is almost exactly the same. You can, of course, pick things out a little bit. His little feet dots are more outspread in silver version. His head's a little more cocked down, like he's about to use Poison Sting. So I guess we'd have to give it to this one. There's a little more life to it, but really not a lot. And when you're talking about not a lot of life to sprites, of course there's Kakuna, which even these Kakuna sprites have less life to them than the Metapod did. Or at least the Metapod from silver version. But, I mean, these are, again, almost identical. I feel like the one in silver version's a little more lifelike. It's got a little more life to it. Anyways, it's just because it's not, I don't know, it looks, the curve, I don't know, it looks like it's doing something. Whereas the one in gold version, it just looks like it's, you know, a bug stuck on a tree, as it is in pretty much every time you see it in the anime. Beedrill, on the other hand, there's a lot of life to both of these sprites, but I really like the one in silver version. It looks like he's just flying straight at you with one of those twin needles. Gold versions isn't terrible, but again, silver version just has more flair to it, so to speak. Pidgey is Pidgey. It's probably the most basic bird Pokemon out of all the starter birds in any of the Pokemon games, but it's still my personal favorite. In this instance, the silver one is not bad, but I think gold definitely takes it, just with that flying pose. Even though its wings are super proportionally small to its body, it still looks better. Then we got Pidgeotto, which I still think the gold sprite looks better. In silver, it does have the wings, you know, outstretched and everything, but something about that pose, it just looks kind of goofy, whereas at least the pose in gold version, he's sitting there kind of intimidatingly. I don't know, something I like about that one better. With Pidgeot, though, it's a bit different. Pidgeot's static sprite in gold version, it looks like he's trying to be intimidating, but it just doesn't look as good as this, like, mid-flight sprite that we have in silver version, where Pidgeot's literally just coming at the screen. It's a really, really nice sprite, in my opinion. Then we got Rattata. Both these sprites are pretty eh. The facial expression is basically the same. It's just one pose versus another. I think I actually like the silver version pose a little bit more, where he's standing up, even though a rat really isn't going to stand up on two legs. It adds a little bit more to it, I suppose. Raticate, on the other hand, again, I think it's being up on the two legs just kind of looks better. It doesn't fit the species, but at least the one in gold version looks a little bit better. The one in silver version almost looks like it's kind of the same image, but just turned on its side to make it look like it's running, but it's really just not a great pose. Spearow, on the other hand, is interesting because both of them are in a pose. The silver one's running towards the screen. The gold one, it looks like he's like hopping, but it's such a flat sprite. While I do like the head and the beak better in gold version, I gotta give this one to silver just because at least it looks like he has a little bit of animation to his design. Fearow looks really good in both of these. Two different flapping poses, but with silver version, I really like the outstretched wings. It looks like it's in flight, looks like it's, you know, it could be flying away from something, or it could be coming down to strike at something with those outstretched talons. So silver version definitely looks better in my opinion. Ekans, this one's really kind of eh. I mean, both sprites are almost kind of the same, but I think silver version's, I don't want to call it a pose, but just the way the body is curved up, I think silver version just looks a little bit better. Although, honestly, they both look like they're in immense pain. Arbok, I feel like I like the pose that it has in gold version better, but I feel like gold version's face is a little goofy, whereas in silver version, you know, head's cocked back, he's fangs out, ready to attack. I think silver version just looks a little bit better. If we could have silver version's head on the gold version's body, then that would definitely be the best for sure. Pikachu, both these sprites are decent. There's something about the sprite in gold version that I don't like compared to the silver version. Silver version just reminds me of like just the chunk Pikachu that we used to have in the TCG. And base set and jungle set Pikachus are my favorite Pokemon cards, or my favorite Pikachu Pokemon cards. And this one really screams at me to the jungle Pikachu, and I like this design better. My boy Raichu. I like both of these sprites, and there's something to be said about the one in gold version, but he just looks super plump. And while I do like the way his tail looks better in the gold version sprite, and kind of his ears a little bit, I think the silver version one looks better. It looks like he's just jumping into the air to either use, like, you know, Thunderbolt or whatever. I think silver version's just a bit better. Sandshrew, both these sprites are pretty good. I kind of like the gold version one, but I feel like, I don't know, there's something about that pose that the silver version is in that just, I think silver version takes this one. Sandslash, again, silver version looks better. He's literally slashing towards the player. Gold version, he's kind of just like looking back, which is not bad. You can see his quills a bit better on gold version, but silver version is just so much better here. Female Nidoran, this one's no contest for sure. The gold version sprite looks more like the old like red and blue sprite, which is nostalgic for me, but as are all the Gen 2 sprites, and silver version just looks so much better here. Again, for Nidorina too, silver version just looks better than gold. Even though the body is a bit, the angle that it's at, you can't really see its form, so to speak. But it just looks so much better in gold version. Gold again kind of speaks to that really weird generic art style that Gen 1 had. Nidoqueen, on the other hand, I do like the gold version sprite. There's a little bit more to it, you know, it's about to stomp towards you, got that arm raised up, about to smack you down. Whereas the one in silver version, it's just, people have joked about it all the time, where it's just like, girl, get away. And I don't know, it just seems like a silly sprite to me. Male Nidoran has the same thing that female Nidoran has. The one in gold version just has that standard sprite from Gen 1 that it's almost like gold version they made first. And so that's why a lot of these sprites are like this, and they're not as good. But then we've got, you know, the ones in silver that are they just seem like they were made later. They were made with just better designs. Nidorino, now this one's a bit different. So gold version, it does still look like the Gen 1. It actually looks like the Gen 1 Nidorino that jumps at the screen in the little intro where it's Nidorino versus Gengar, which is a play off of the first episode of the anime. But the one in silver version looks so much worse compared to the Nidorina for silver version. So I actually think the more nostalgic one of gold version kind of looks better in this instance. Nidoking is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon, and I would really love for it to come to Scarlet and Violet with the new DLC, but both these sprites are pretty solid. While I do like the one in gold version, he's got his, you know, his arms up, whatever. He's not really a punching Pokemon. Now, granted, he can learn the elemental punches, which is great, but the other one where he's just he's just roaring at you, that's what you expect from a Nidoking, and so I think that one's just better. Both these Clefairy sprites are kind of, they're about the same. I don't know. I think gold version looks a little bit better. It's a little clearer what it's doing, at least with its little fingers and stuff. I don't know. Gold version is just a little bit better in my opinion. And then we got Clefable here. Gold version's Clefable is just really bland, just kind of standing there. Silver version, you know, it's got its hand up, you know, whatever, it's waving. The pose, it's not standing, just T-posing. I feel like silver version's a little better. Vulpix, on the other hand, there's no contest. While the gold version sprite is adorable, there is something about that silver version pose. It is ready to strike, and it's such a good design. I absolutely love Vulpix. Ninetales is one of my other favorite Pokemon, and both these designs are pretty solid. But I think I like the gold version one better. Something about the way the tail flicks out, and then it's got that paw out. There's something about it. The hair kind of sticking back, whereas the one in silver version looks a little more tame, which it's not really what I want to see in, something that's supposed to be either battling against me or something I've discovered in the wild that's, a wild creature. Jigglypuff, this one's got to go to gold version. It has kind of like that look where it's just like, Jigglypuff's always pissed off in the anime because nobody wants to listen to it sing, or if they do, it falls asleep. The one in silver version is a good sprite, but I think gold version just lives up to the lore of just what Jigglypuff is. Wigglytuff, though, gold version's just lurks derpy as all hell. This one definitely goes to silver. Zubat's a very generic Pokemon because it doesn't really have a face. There's not a whole lot of life you can get out of it, but I feel like the silver version one has, Gen 1 syndrome, where it looks like it's an older sprite, just kind of updated. Where gold version it looks like such a better sprite. Golbat, I think, also goes to gold version. I don't really know what it's doing with its legs swung to one side in silver version. The one wing is kind of like curved over. It just doesn't seem like it's very consistent for flying, whereas gold version, the wings are just spread out like he's just ready to attack. I think gold version's better. Oddish, these two are both very bland. But for reasons I can't explain, I think I actually like the gold version one better. Something about just the angle that the leaves are at, and that's really not saying much. Gloom, both of these sprites, neither one of them really speaks to me. The gold version one, I kind of like its stance a little bit better, but the silver version, the way the mouth is and the drool and stuff, it looks more like the actual Gloom in the anime. So I think because of that, I have to give it to that one, even though I do really like the pose in gold versions. Vileplume, on the other hand, this definitely goes to silver. It's just silver version. It's standing there, it's holding its big flower up, which is something. But the one in gold version, I don't know what the hell it's doing. It's tripping, it's falling, it can't stand up. Losing balance from the weight of its own head. It just looks kind of goofy. Paris has, again, Gen 1 syndrome here. Silver version just looks like a really outdated sprite, whereas gold version at least has a little bit more life to it, so I definitely like that one better. Same thing here with Parasect. Silver version, while it doesn't look as bad as the Parasect did, or as the Paris did, the gold version Parasect with the claw up, and you actually can see its eyes, so it's looking, more at you, where the other one looks like it's kind of looking somewhere, like, way off to the player's left. Venonat, these are really not much different. I think I just like the pose better in gold version. Venomoth, though, I don't like gold version sprite because something about the way the wings are, the angle it's at, just really, it just looks weird to me. I think silver version's a little more, it's kind of like Butterfree. Like, it just looks better, but not in a way I can really put into words. Diglett, this is about one of the most generic looking Pokemon. I'm going to give this one to gold version because even though the head looks a little more doofy, it's got the little dirt pieces over to the, yeah, I don't know, looks like he's in dig maybe. Let's just go to gold. Silver version, or Dugtrio on the other hand, silver version, they're all looking the same way, And I don't know why, I actually like gold version better because they're all looking different directions. One's looking to the right, one's looking to the left, one's looking straight ahead. And that one just makes it seem like the 3 heads are, you know, separate from each other. Not as a being, but like, you know, they're not just like a hive mind where they're all having to look one direction or do one thing. It's just gold version's just a little better. Meowth. Personally, I hate Meowth. I don't hate Meowth. I hate Meowth in all the games because they have Meowth standing up. At least in the anime, any other Meowth we see that's not Team Rocket's Meowth is on all fours like a cat should be. And really, Meowth should never be standing up except for Team Rocket's Meowth because it learned how to. So unless every other Meowth learned how to stand up on its hind legs, it should be down on all fours. Granted, that's not the issue here. I think gold version just looks a little bit better. Persian, I gotta give the gold version as well. It looks like it's in kind of like a pouncing stance, whereas silver version just like cleaning itself. It's a really weird art choice to go with here for a video game. Psyduck is Psyduck. Both these are basically the same, but I gotta give it to gold version. He's actually holding his head. Silver version, he's holding his head with one hand and holding his bill with the other hand, which I don't think we've ever seen a Psyduck do that. So we gotta give it to gold version. We're gonna give Golduck to gold version as well, because it's Gold Duck. No, not really. It just, the pose looks a little bit better. I don't know what kind of dance it's doing in silver version, but it just looks a little off. Mankey, I kind of want to give to gold version because it is in that kick stance. But there's something about the way it looks. The art just looks better in the silver version. Even though the pose is a little more generic monkey, I think it just looks better than the gold version. Primeape, though, I like the gold version better. Because, you know, we see him just pounding on people with those giant, like, boxing glove fists. Gold version, he's just swinging out there, whereas silver, he's kind of like leaned back, arms up. It's more like a threat, whereas gold version, he's past the threat. He's just going to beat your ass. Growlithe, I got to give to gold. Silver version's not terrible. He's kind of in like that pouncing puppy pose, but gold version, he's just, the barking just looks better. Here we swap, where gold version, the Arcanine is now in kind of like a pouncing pose, but silver version's Arcanine art is just super iconic. Arcanine can be one of the coolest Pokemon, and in all honesty, its base set art did it such an injustice that it's absolutely insane. But here, there's no denying that silver version has the better art. Poliwag is kind of, again, really generic. It's not really got a lot it can do, and it also doesn't have arms, so it's just got little feet and a little tail. But I think I like silver version better since you can actually see a little bit more of its body shape. So I don't know, they're not really that far apart, but silver version's a little bit better. Poliwhirl, on the other hand, they're both kind of doing similar but opposite poses. The one in gold version is, you know, thrusting its fist out to the left, whereas in silver version it's got his hand out to the right, but both versions have their opposite fists kind of like pulled back. These are really, both of them, solid sprites. I don't know, I think I have to give this one to silver version, even though gold version looks really good as well. I think it's just, its angle is just slightly off, and its legs look like it's about to like slip into the splits. Poliwrath, these two are almost identical. There's something that I like about how even the swirl is on its stomach in gold version, but also I know that that's not really as accurate, so I feel like silver version's a little better. I think silver version I think just overall the sprite is better than silver, even though I do really like that really even swirl on its stomach in gold. It's just something about the shading just looks a little too dark. Abra is interesting because for gold version, they gave it... Abra usually sleeps like 18 hours a day. And in this instance, this is one of the only times you ever see one of Abra's eyes open. And Abra's a Pokemon that I actually really like its base form. Granted, I like Kadabra a lot. I like Alakazam. I like all three of them for their own reasons. And Abra's got a really cool design for, you know, like a basic Pokemon. And I don't know, something about just seeing its eye open and the way it's just kind of like, you know, glaring at you is just, it's a really, just gives it something else for a change. Kadabra, both these sprites are kind of eh. And, you know, the silver, I grew up a silver version, so those designs are a little more, I don't want to say nostalgic to me, they're more recognizable, I suppose. I've played gold version, but silver was the one I had, and so it's one I see more often, or I have seen more often, but I think I like the gold version better here. Alakazam, I don't know, something about the way gold versions pose here. I feel like neither one of these are very great. They're very similar in their own way, but silver version actually looks a little more like how we would see an Alakazam in battle, whether it's just the way his legs are spread apart or the way he's holding up both spoons instead of one. Machop is very similar in both of these games as far as their design goes, but I think I like gold versions a little bit better here. Machoke is really interesting because both of these games portray Machoke in a really weird way that I'm not really a fan of. I don't know, like, first of all, the one on the left, the one in gold version, looks like he's got hair. It doesn't even look like he's got those three little fin things. It looks like hair. And so he kind of looks like he's just, hands on his hips, just staring down at you in this weird manner. Whereas silver version, he looks a little more derpy. But he's got his fist out like, yeah, let's fucking fight, you know. I don't know, I gotta give it silver version, I guess. Machamp looks really weird in both of these, and I think Machamp looked really bad in Gen 1 as well. It's one of those Pokemon that they just took a while to get the design right. I think overall, silver version has a bit of a better design, even though he's, you know, kind of punching and doing some shit in gold, but silver version at least looks like he's about to uppercut you, and it just doesn't look as weird. Bellsprout, these are really, they're different, but really not different in a way. I think silver version's a little bit better, but not by much. Weeping Bell, these are pretty much the fucking same. I actually think I'll go with gold version on this one because I like how both of the leaves are, you know, facing the same way, whereas silver version is kind of like he's just flailing them about, however. Victory Bell, on the other hand, holy hell, like there's a definite better sprite here, and it's damn for sure gold version. That is such a cool sprite. I love the way the vine on his head loops all the way around and then comes up with that point right in front of it. Silver versions isn't bad by any means, but there's no denying the gold version just absolutely takes the win here. Tentacool, neither one of these really speak out to me, but I feel like gold version just looks like he's kind of swimming. The silver version just kind of looks more like what you would expect from a Tentacool, so we're going to go silver. Tentacruel, these are both very similar, almost like they're reversed, like they're mirror imaged, but something about the way the tentacles are in silver version just looks better. You can actually see the individual tentacles a little bit better, and it's got the one coming out towards the screen, which the gold version has, but it's got this one way up in the back, so I think silver version just looks a little better here. Geodude, this one's an obvious one. Silver looks better. Oh. He's got his fist, he's got his one hand out, he's got his other fist cocked back. He's about to fuck you up. Whereas the one in gold version is just like raising his fist above his head like, why I oughta? Yeah, no, silver version is definitely better here. Graveler in both of these is really just not great. And I understand Graveler's design in itself is not great, and I don't even know if, I can't even think of a lot of times it's been portrayed well. But silver version at least is a little more uniform with both the arms up, and then the other two arms are kind of there, like, tucked underneath. I think that one's a little better, but not by much. Golem, on the other hand, again, this is one of those Pokemon that it's a little more uniform than Graveler, but there's not really a lot you can do with this design-wise, and while gold version has a little more life to it, it looks a lot derpier, and I think it just the standing pose it's in silver is actually the better way to go this time around. Ponyta, these are both good sprites, but gold version is just standing there, just kind of looking bored, or at least in silver version, it's kind of like in this this running trot. So we'll give it to silver. Rapidash. Now, while gold version has kind of that running pose that we just gave to silver version for Ponyta, I think silver's Rapidash just looks so much better. It's kicked up on its back two legs. It's kind of head turned to the side like it's neighing at something. It looks better. Slowpoke, these are both really derpy, but it is Slowpoke, so I think the more derp factor is actually the better here, and silver version is definitely more derp with that stance. Slowbro, these are very similar, but very different in their own right. The one in silver version looks like his back is just killing him due to the weight of that shell, which I wouldn't blame him. But I actually think I like gold version better. He's got the arms spread out. He's kind of a little more life to his face, and then there's a lot more life to the shelter that's clamped onto his tail. He's pissed off, whereas the other one just is kind of like there. Magnemite, these are fucking almost the same. I'm gonna give this to silver version. They're actually a little bit different. Silver's looking down towards the player. Gold version is looking over to the side, and gold version the magnets are turned at an angle. You can't really see the space between the positive and negative sides where you can in silver version. It's not much different, but it's a little bit better. Magneton. Now, this one took me a little bit to actually stare at and figure out the differences, and there are several, but at the same time, it's so hard to tell. Now, this is where, in my opinion, they got Magneton's art right, and they did this very early in the TCG, but there were so many times, pretty much every time after that, each individual Magnemite doesn't have the two screws on the bottom. They have it to where one has the two, and then the other two only have one of those screws. Instead of there being 6, there's only 4. This is also an interesting art because it has it has 2 magnets on the top instead of the 2 on the bottom, which I think the Pokemon Fossil Magneton had that kind of art to it as well. But every other Magneton in the games, in the anime, and in the TCG all have 1 Magnemite on the top and 2 on the bottom. As for this one, I don't know. I feel like silver version just looks a little bit better, just the different angle the magnets and stuff are at, but it's really not much of a difference here. Farfetch, these are both good sprites, but actually something about silver versions kind of stands out to me more, where he looks like he's flying at the player instead of kind of standing there caught off guard with his leek in his mouth. I think silver version is better here too. Doduo, I gotta give this one the silver version, I guess because one of the mouths are open, both the heads are facing the same way, and he's kind of in like a ready stance. The other one just kind of looks like he's walking, and the 2 heads just don't have a clue what the hell's going on. Dodrio, though, in gold version, looks so much better. The 3 heads are all kind of facing the same way. Both sprites have one that's, you know, squawking, but the way the legs are posed and everything, I think gold version just stands out more. Seal, one of the just most underrated Pokemon. Not saying that it's a great Pokemon, it's a very bland design, but I think it gets a lot of hate that it doesn't really deserve. I think gold version sprite looks better here though. Dugong, however, I really like. I'm not big on Seal, but I like Dugong, even though he's a very simple Pokemon. But silver version's art just looks better here. The pose it's in looks like he's more in a swimming pose compared to gold version, and it's, gold version is just a little boring to me. Grimer, both of these are okay, but I think I actually like gold versions where you got both arms just out, like he's just about to just slither towards you. I don't really know what the hell the one is doing in silver version with the one arm up and one arm looks like it's putting something in its mouth. It's kind of awkward. Muck, on the other hand, though, the awkwardness switches. Gold version, you can't even see its right arm, and it just, I don't know, it's a really weird angle, whereas silver version, the mouth is just agape, the ooze is dripping down. It's got the right hand just, if you can call it a hand, slammed down in front of it, like, it's just vastly superior than gold version. Shelter, these are really both pretty bland. It really just comes down to the angle of the shoulder, and I think, I don't know, maybe gold version, I guess. Just different angle. I don't know. Cloister. This one has to go to silver version. I like the angle it's at better. You can see the smirk a lot better too. I'm not sure what they're going for with this angle with gold version, but they're not really a lot different. But especially the way you can see the main three spikes on the silver version art just looks better. Now we're getting into my favorites, and starting with Ghastly. Both great sprites, but while gold version looks really fucking good and menacing, I love how silver version actually makes it look like he's flying towards the player with the gas kind of like trailing behind him. So I got to give it to silver version for sure. Haunter is going to take silver version as well, or silver is going to take Haunter as well. I'm not sure which way. They're both good sprites, but I feel like there's something that looks more demented about Haunter. He looks a little scarier, actually. I also like the way his hands are more outward, like he's about to snatch you up. Gold version does have a little bit more of like he's kind of floating, kind of, I don't want to say animation, but design to him. But silver just looks more intimidating. Gengar, both of these sprites are so good. I don't know how to pick. The one in silver version, he's got the one leg up, he's got the arms up. It's like he's trying to like spook you. Like Gengar's just goofing anyways. The one in gold version though, his arms are down. He's not messing around. It looks like he's just about to stomp and just kind of like to just kind of jump scare you. I don't know. I feel like both these sprites are really good. Maybe I got to give it to gold version just a little bit here. I don't know. Even the grins are a bit different. Maybe we got to go with gold though. Onyx, both of these aren't terrible. I like the like S shape that pose that it's in silver version, but he's just kind of like whereas in gold version his mouth is much more like spread out. He's just clearly he's making a scene, and I gotta give it to gold version here. Drowsy is just a really weird-ass Pokemon in general, and both these sprites kind of play to, like, the generic pose that a Drowsy usually has. But, I don't know, I feel like I gotta give this one to silver version. Hypno, again, really plays into the creep factor, and the one in gold version, he's kind of, like, holding it up. He's like, see, looky here, because he's trying to hypnotize you. But the one in silver version, he's just holding it straight out. Got his hand out like, ooh. I don't know. They're both really but I feel like maybe I'll give this one to silver. Krabby, these are both kind of super generic. I think silver version actually, well, I think gold looks like it has a little more life. Gold has a better angle to it, I think. It looks a little more generic, but I think gold overall is just a little more out there. We're gonna give Kingler gold as well. Again, I think the sprite just looks a little bit better. They're both kind of doofy, and they both have the bigger claw open. But I think the way the one in gold version has an extended just looks a little better. Voltorb, but this is a really just like, there's not much you can do with this. It's a fucking ball. Gold version, you can see the red and the white a little more. But, I don't know. I think I like silver versions better. Just the particular angle. Now, with Electrode, on the other hand, I think the roles are reversed. I think Electrode looks a lot better in gold version, the angle that it's at. Especially just the wink with the smirk. Electrode's just he's such a cool guy kind of Pokemon. Even though I don't really ever think I've used one. I like him, but I couldn't put him up there with my favorites. It just, I don't know. Just something about him. He's just he's like Gengar. He's just always smiling. Oh, then we got Execute here. This one's really I think I'm going to give this one to gold version just because all the eggs, or all the seeds as they are a lot closer in size. For some reason, the silver version, they make it to where that one middle egg is like twice as big as all the others, which is, I don't think it's very accurate, and it just kind of looks weird. And we got Executor. This one, I don't know. I would give it to gold version because he's standing up and he's a little more lifelike, but the face on the head on the right, actually the face on all of them, but definitely the one on the right is actually really fucking creepy, and I think I gotta give this a silver version. That one's creeping me the fuck out. Cubone, both of these are pretty solid sprites, but I think I like the angle better for the one on gold version. I'm gonna give it to gold. MariK, I think I'm gonna give this one to gold as well. I like how it's kind of standing there with its, you know, holding the bone on silver version, but in gold version, he's really just in kind of this attack pose. I mean, he's coming down on you with that club in one hand and just clubbing you with his other hand. Hitmonlee, this one's actually kind of difficult. These are both good poses. In the one in silver version, he's actually sweeping his leg out, whereas the one in gold version, he's kind of in like this like leaping pose with those like long ass friggin' Inspector Gadget legs. I don't know. I think I gotta give this one silver version though. It's a little more action pose. Hitmonchan, this one is kind of the opposite. They're both really not doing a whole lot of anything. I feel like even though the sprite for gold version is punching out a little bit more, something about the facial expression just seems to fit better. And maybe he's got a little bit more of a closed stance in silver versions. So I feel like that's a little more accurate for the way a Hitmonchan would fight. Lickitung, this is just a really weird Pokemon all around. Silver version sprite looks a little bit better. I like the way you can see more of its tail sticking out in the back, which is, you know, when it retracts its tongue, it goes back in its tail or something. There's a really weird lore about this Pokemon. We're going to give it silver. Coughing, I think gold version looks really good here. Silver version doesn't look bad. It's got the same, like, flying at you kind of pose that Ghastly had, but the angle's all wrong. I think this one just looks kind of weird. I don't know, something about the gold version just looks really nice. Silver version, I gotta give, silver version, Wheezing silver version looks really awkward here. I also think the placement of the two heads is incorrect. And I don't know, I just like the way gold version looks better. He looks more like a Wheezing. For some reason, silver version looks more like an ogre. Rhyhorn, really not a whole lot of difference here. Silver version looks a little bit better in my opinion. Gold version looks like he's not. Like he's supposed to be flat, but he's not. I don't know. It looks like they just turned the image up instead of changing the angle his legs should be at. Rhydon, giving this a silver version as well. He's in similar pose like Nidoking. Arms are kind of out and, you know, roaring loud. I don't know what the hell it's doing in gold version. Some kind of like stanky leg dance. Chansey, both of these look pretty good. I'm going to give this one the silver version just because it looks a little bit more excited. Tangela, there's really not a lot to be said about Tangela since it's just a bunch of vines and a pair of Yoshi shoes. But silver version looks a little better here. Kangaskhan, these are both okay sprites. I actually like silver versions better, even though gold version is kind of, you know, rawr. But there's something about the way its arms look. Yeah, silver version just looks a little better here. Horsey, these are both good designs, but silver version looks a little more like a generic Horsey. So I think we'll go silver here. Seadra, though, looks so much more menacing in gold version. Like, gold version, he's actually, like, attacking. But in silver version, I don't know. I kind of like the way his fins are, like, up, like wings, though. I like the way the tail is curved up in silver version a little bit better, too. So I think we're going to give this one the silver version. Goldeen, both these sprites are, they're about the same. But I think silver version just a little bit better. Seeking, I think I'm going to give silver version this one as well. It's not that the one in gold version looks worse. I think it's because it's doing more, but in a less way, if that makes any sense. Staryu here, I like silver versions better. I actually like Staryu and Starmie art where they look pointy instead of having rounded edges, and I think this Staryu definitely captures that appeal for me. Starmie, though, while he does have the pointedness, first of all, this Starmie is upside down compared to every other Starmie art out there. But also, the angle to this one's just really weird. So even though I like the pointiness, I gotta give this one the gold version. Mr. Mime, these are honestly both creepy, but we'll give the silver version's a little less creepy. Scyther, these are both really cool. I like gold versions. It's, flying towards you, but the way the angle is it's really hard to even tell what it is. So we're gonna give this one silver version. It's a little more just static standing pose, but it looks nice. Jinx, these are both really, really awkward. Silver versions is kind of like an awkward high wave, whereas gold versions is kind of like, what do you want from me? So I guess we're gonna give it to gold version. Electabuzz, neither one of these really stand out to me much, but silver version he's doing a little bit more, and he looks like he's screaming, so we'll give it to silver version. Gold version looks like it's putting a little more effort into it, but silver version here, it's a similar sprite design, I think, but we'll go with gold for Magmar. Now for Pinsir, these are both sprites. I'm going to give this one to gold, because even though silver is a little more generic, like Gen 1 kind of design, gold version is just leaping out at you, which I feel like that's what a scary bug with giant pincers would do to you. Tauros, I don't really care for either of these sprites. The one in silver version makes it look like it's running towards you, but it looks like the angle is off. Gold version, I think, has a little bit more life to it, especially with the three tails kind of all going their own separate directions. So we'll give this one the gold version. Magikarp, these are both bland as shit, but gold version looks a little bit better. Gyarados, this is a really tough one. I really like both of these, actually. Silver version, I like, again, it's got like that S pose that you kind of want, like a serpent-like creature to have in a animated instance like this. Obviously, you don't want that in real life. But the one in gold version just looks really good. And I don't know. These are both really good designs. I may give this one to gold version, but it's a little, I don't know. Maybe we'll go with gold. Lapras, these are both good designs too, but I'm going to go with gold version because it's doing a little bit more than silver version. Ditto, there's no contest. Silver looks good. Gold just looks like goop. Eevee, this is a case, again, gold version's Eevee just looks like a Gen 1 sprite, whereas silver version just looks really cute and kind of playful. Silver version takes this hands down. Vaporeon's sprite is vastly superior in silver version. I don't really know what they were going for with the gold version art, but it looks really off. The angle's really bad, and it almost looks like it's missing one of its legs. Jolteon, neither one of these sprites is bad looking, but I think gold version has a little more life to it. Silver version, it's like all of its legs are like tucked in, especially its front paws. Almost like it's like one of those little cats with like little stub legs. Flareon, these are both good sprites. I really like Flareon. I really like both these sprites, but I think gold version, there's just something about that pose where it's like 1 foot forward and ready to fuck you up. Porygon's one of those designs that you really can't do a lot with, but I think they nailed it here with silver version. I don't know what they're trying to go with gold. I guess they're trying to make it look like this little, polygonal duck is doing something, but it's really not made to do much of anything, and I think silver version captures that pretty perfectly. Omanyte, silver version looks really almost like its shell is like deflated almost. Like, it just, I don't know, there's something about the angle they took silver version that just doesn't look right. So we're going to go with gold version here. Omastar, on the other hand, looks so much better in silver version. Gold version, the way his eyes are, he's just kind of like surprised, I guess. Gold version looks, or silver version, on the other hand, I mean, looks a little more like what you would expect from an ancient, you know, fossilized creature that's come back to haunt you. Kabuto, there's really not a whole lot of difference here, but silver version looks a little better. Kabutops, on the other hand, gold version's sprite looks better, except for the face. They really kind of fucked up the eyes there, and the head looks a little misshapen. But I kind of like the pose it's in better. I guess we're gonna give give this one to gold version. Aerodactyl, this one definitely goes to gold version. That's a very great sprite. I don't know what they're doing with silver version, but it just looks very weird. There's something about it's really off-putting. Snorlax, these are both basically identical. Silver version's a little bit better, I guess. Articuno, here, these two are way, way different. Gold version doesn't look bad, but something about the way the wings look in the silver version art, not to mention just the coloration, is just really what I expect from an Articuno. Just that light ice blue color. Just everything about silver versions is just infinitely superior. Same thing goes for Zapdos. I don't like the angle they were going for with gold version. Zapdos is a little more standard in silver, but that's what you want. That's kind of the look that you're going for. Moltres, again, we got to give this one the silver version. It's a really cool pose. I like the wings being up on gold versions, but it just looks more like one of those rubber chickens. I don't like that one. Dratini, not a whole lot of difference here. Gold version looks a little bit better, I think. Dragonair, I think maybe we'll give this one to gold version too. Just its body's a little more actiony. Silver version doesn't look bad at all, but I think gold version just a little bit better here. Dragonite, this one's kind of easy. Silver version just looks good. Gold version looks kind of coy, like kind of cute and playful, but it's not what you want with a Dragonite. I mean, it's supposed to be a monster, but something about the way it's just kind of like arching its back as well, I just don't like. Good old Mewtwo. I don't really know what the hell he's supposed to be doing in this silver version art. Gold version, he's kind of, hand out like he's about to use a psychic attack. It just, that one looks better, even though you can't really see what his, see his tail. But, I don't know, he looks like he's about to use Headbutt in silver version, which is just really awkward. Mew, on the other hand, looks fantastic in silver. I absolutely love this art. When I had the original games, I got a Mew in blue or yellow version. I got it transferred to my OG silver game, and I loved using this thing. Great art. The back sprite looks great too. Gold version just looks a little misshapen. It's not terrible, but silver version is definitely better. Now we're getting into the Gen 2 Pokemon. This one's kind of... I'm kind of conflicted on this, because obviously I went with silver version as a kid, and while silver version does look better, like, gold version looks more flat, but gold version looks more Chikorita, if that makes any sense. I feel like I kind of have to give it to gold version. Now, Bayleaf, this is one of those cases where the sprites are exactly the same, and I tried my damnedest to find differences, and I don't think there actually is a difference. It's not even like the Magnemite, where there is a little bit different here and there. This one, I think, is actually identical, and if it's not, the differences are more subtle than the Magnemites, and so this one, nobody gets. Meganium gets its own sprite, though, here, and silver version just looks better. I don't know what he's doing in gold. He's kind of, like, whipped his neck around, like, what'd you say? Silver version just better here. Cyndaquil, it's more or less the same, but silver version, he's a little more stood up, so we're gonna go silver. Quilava, these are both pretty good sprites. I like the way Quilava looked before they changed him, the red eyes and everything. I don't know, something about gold version. I think gold version just looks a little bit better, not by much, but just enough. Something about the way the flames in the back look too. It looks like he's got two flames coming out of, like, the sides of his back instead of, you know, the one uniform flame on his back. That's not really the defining thing that makes it look better. It's just something about the pose. Typhlosion, this one definitely goes to silver version. The action pose looks great. Gold version just looks really goofy. Totodile definitely goes to gold. If it's a Totodile, if it's not got its mouth agape, teeth pointy sharp, like, silver version's interesting, but it's not Totodile to me. Croconaut, Croconaut's really weird. So, Totodile is my favorite standalone Gen 2 starter if we're just talking about the basic Pokemon. However, if we're talking about the evolutions, it goes to Typhlosion, or Cyndaquil's line. Because I don't really care for Croconaut, and I don't really care for Alligator, and it's because of their art. In Gen 2, I feel like I like gold versions for Alligator, or Croconaut a little bit better. He looks really weird, like he's wearing like a Flintstones-esque outfit. Almost looks like a wife beater with holes in it, and he looks really, like, he just looks weird and unshaven in silver version. I don't know what it is about that art. I just don't like it. See, and here for Alligator, these are both, they really don't do for Alligator justice. I like for Alligator now, but growing up, I couldn't stand the design here, especially considering the cards from, like, Neo Genesis just looked so good. I'm going to give this one a silver version because the pose is a little bit better, but neither one of these are very good. Sentret, we're going to give this one to gold. I like the pose a little bit better up on the tail. Furret's going to go to silver version, though. I don't know what's going on with the gold version's sprite there, but silver looks pretty nice. Hoot Hoot, these aren't really a whole lot different. I think I like the feathers, the wings up on silver version versus the wings down. Noctowl looks good in both these poses. Gold version, he's just kind of a little more standard standing there, but silver version, he's kind of like, I don't know, the angle he's kind of like tilted at, like he's taunting you. I think gold version's kind of looks a little bit better, but I think I have to go with silver version. This is just no contest, really. I don't like Ladybot, period. But silver version at least looks a little more like Ladybug. Gold version just looks like a giant balloon. Now, I do like Ledian. I won't say I like Ledian, but I like it better than Ladybot. Ladybot I actually don't like, where I don't have negative feelings towards Ladybot. Gold version sprite just looks a little more active, so I kind of like that one better. Spinarak, this again is one of those cases where the sprite, not only is it awfully wrong with coloration, but there's nothing different between these two sprites. I overlaid them on top of each other, they're exactly the same. So really, nobody gets this one. Same thing with Ariados. This sprite is also the exact same. I don't know why these Pokemon in particular got the exact same sprites and didn't get a different one like, you know, pretty much every other Pokemon in the games. Crobat. Neither one of these are great. But I guess the face on silver versions looks a little less derp than gold version. So I think I gotta go with silver. Chinchou, neither one of these, again, these are very similar. They're not really a whole lot different, but I think gold versions is a little bit better, I guess. Lantern, these, again, they're very similar. Silver version actually looks like it's doing a little bit more. Gold version looks like it's not paying attention to anything, so we'll go with silver version. Pichu, this one definitely goes to silver. The cute jumping pose, he just looks happy. Gold version kind of looks more curious than anything else, but silver version just looks better. Cleffa, we're going to give this one to silver as well. There's really not a whole lot of difference here, but it just looks happier. Igglybuff, this one I think we're going to give to gold. The silver version pose is just kind of awkward. Again, it looks like they just tilted the image just to make it look like it was doing something, and I don't really like that. Then we got Togepi. I actually think Silver version looks better, even though it's the more static, just kind of standing pose. But it's a Togepi, so that makes more sense for it. Gold versions looks okay, but Silver versions looks like it's got a little bit more of like that cutesy appeal. Togetic, there's not really a whole lot different here besides the arm poses and the legs. I think Gold version's a little bit better, but not by much. Natu, definitely gotta give this one to Silver. I don't know, I just like the angle better. Gold looks a little snooty, but also it looks like it's missing a wing. Xatu, this one definitely goes to Silver, even though it's a little more flat, a little more 2D. Gold version looks nice, but I like the wings outspread like that. It looks like really ancient, like almost like the hieroglyphics from Egypt. MariK, this one's really not a whole lot different, and yet it's very different at the same time. The one in gold just looks like it's starting to deflate. Silver version looks nice and fluffy like you'd expect from a MariK, so definitely got to go with Silver version here. Flaffy, on the other hand, now, I know I said doing stuff makes it a Pokemon sprite looks a little more lifelike, but there's something about gold version sprite that looks a little disproportionate, especially with that left leg. It looks swollen. It's a little weird. I think Silver version's it's another case of where less is more. Kind of like Ampharos here. I think Silver version just looks better for Ampharos. I don't know what kind of weird ass pose they've got it going on in gold. It's kind of like Rhydon. It's just kind of legs and arms are just thrown about like it doesn't know what the hell it's doing. And I like my Pokemon to know what the hell they're doing. Bellossom. These are both great. These are both cute sprites, but Silver version has a lot more life to it. Actually looks like it's dancing, which is pretty much all Bellossoms do in the anime. And I don't know, that one just looks better. Marill. These are very similar, but I gotta go with gold version just because it's actually jumping up and it's got its mouth open, and that's more the iconic Marill art that we're used to. Azumarill, I'm gonna give this one to gold as well. Again, like the one in Silver version, he's got like that right fist raised up. Why I oughta? I don't know. Gold version just looks a little more Pokemon like happy. Sudowoodo, neither one of these sprites is great, but I don't like the hunched over look that he has in the Silver version, so we're going to go with gold. Politoed, neither one of these are bad sprites, for sure, but I actually think I like gold version better. I think the pose is better than Silver version's having its mouth open a little bit, but open a little bit isn't anything. Now if it was like wide open, like it was screaming at something, that might get it more points. Hoppip, these are really the same almost as like, it's the same as like going basic. The one on the right, you can see its front legs a little more than the one on the left, but the one on the left has a little, spikier leaves. So we'll go with that one, gold version. Skiploom, yep, again, this is very similar. But I like the way the flower looks on Silver version's better, so we'll go with Silver. Jumpluff, again, these are so, like, similar. Gold versions look really happy, but there's something about the stare, the way the face looks on Silver, that I think we'll just go with Silver. Apom, now, these are really, I hated Apom in the beginning, because he was one of those Pokemon, he didn't evolve, he didn't do anything. He wasn't Skarmory, so he wasn't this monster. Or even like Heracross. It was just kind of in Gen 2. I don't really think I ever even used one after realizing how just bad it was. Neither sprite is really doing anything, but I guess gold version he's up and about, so we'll give this one to gold. Sunkern, there's really not a whole lot of difference here, but I like the angle of gold version because it's a little more straight up, so... Sunflora, we're gonna give this a Silver version. It's not as weird looking. The sunflower petals actually look a lot, they look like there was more work put into them. Whereas gold version, it's all one color. There's no like light shading. It just looks really weird. Yanma we're gonna give to gold version though. I like the flying up pose as opposed to silver version, kind of like flying downward. Neither one's really bad, but I think gold version's a little better. Then we got Wooper. Gold version is definitely better here. I don't like how silver version, the horns are like pointed downward. They're not like dog ears. They can't droop their ears like that. Quagsire, I gotta go with silver version though. I don't know why. Just like the hands on your knees pose, like he's, you know, calling like a kitten over or something. It's adorable, and I love Quagsire. Both are great art. Gold version looks like he's about to fucking jump off a diving board, but I think I like silver version a bit better. Espeon, these are both great sprites. Really are, and I miss when Espeon was a good violet purple like this instead of violet purple. That's a contradiction, considering they're two separate colors. But I like this color more than the pinkish shade that we have in newer games. But I like the sitting, like the elegant sitting pose from gold version. It's not that silver version's is bad, but it's just Espeon has that really regal look, especially in Gen 2, and I think that the gold version pose really captures that. Umbreon, on the other hand, gold version looks really kind of derpy. And while silver version is not the best art, Umbreon obviously gets much better art later on, but I think silver version just looks way better here. Murkrow definitely goes to silver version. The wings spread out, squawking at you. Gold version just looks really awkward now that I'm looking at it. The one foot that's, you know, like lifted back, and then its eye just looks really weird. Slowking, both these look really awkward, but in their own way. Slowking and Silver looks like he's kind of like engaging in conversation, and Slowking on the right looks like he's trying to recall a lost memory. I think I'll actually go with gold version on this one. Mischievous, neither one of these are great sprites. I did not like early Mischievous design. I think gold version's a little bit better here, but not by much. Unknown, this is one that's exactly the same no matter what letter or whatever, so there's not a winner here. Wobbuffet, silver version looks a lot more, I want to say, there's more going on in that head. Whereas gold version looks more like Team Rocket's Wobbuffet, but silver version just looks better. Girafarig, neither one of these really stand out to me, but silver version is a little more life there, so we'll give this to silver. Pineco is almost identical from a glance, but if you actually take a second to look at it, there are a lot of subtle differences, and overall I like gold version better because he's just staring down, and you get more of like a symmetrical look on both sides, whereas silver version has this kind of awkward angle that just doesn't look as good. Then we got Fortress, which is kind of the same thing. Both these sprites are just not great, and none of these sprites, for the four of them, are screen accurate to say the least. But I don't even know here. Maybe gold version, I guess, because it's not at that weird angle, but it's not saying much. Dunsparce, the bus. I gotta give this one to silver version. Gold version just kind of looks like it's tired and asleep. Just looks like a little old man, little beard. Silver version just, yeah, it's just better. Gligar, these are both pretty solid, but I think gold version looks better because he's actually flying out towards you. Silver version, he's kind of like flying out to the side, which isn't bad, but yeah, I like the more offensive pose. Then we got Steelix. These are both, again, good sprites. I think I like gold version a little bit better, even though silver version is up and, you know, its head is actually like up like you would see. Steelix in gold feels like it's moving a little more, and like honestly the sprite just makes it look bigger, so we're gonna go with gold. Snubble, these are both I just don't like Snubble or its evolution. Silver version is doing a little more, so we're going to give it to silver version. Grand Bowl, same thing. It looks like it's about to come after you, and it's just more lifelike. It just looks better. Quillfish, neither one of these really look that great. It's kind of the Pokeball. It's kind of like with Voltorb and Electrode. There's really not much to them, or even Poliwag. But I don't know. I think Gold version looks a little bit better here. Then we got Scizor. Both of these are great sprites, but I don't know. Something about Scizor, I like the pose better with both arms down. Like, the claws are just there, but they're still menacing. Whereas the other one, like, if he wasn't holding it up in the air, if he's holding it straight forward, I'd like that one better, but we're going to go with Gold version. Shuckle, these are really not a whole lot different. There are a lot of subtle differences, but it's fucking Shuckle. We're going to go with silver version because this one's got a little more life to its head bob, but that's about it. Heracross in silver version looks like it's about to try and hug you, whereas in gold version it looks like it might actually be ready for battle. We're going to go gold version here. Sneasel, again, not only is this so off from the actual design that Crystal fixes, but again, it's the exact same sprite, which is super disappointing, but also you probably wouldn't notice it since you can't actually get access to this Pokemon until the very end game at Mount Silver. Teddiursa, I don't really like Teddiursa. Both these poses are okay, but I think I like gold versions a little bit better. Ursaring, on the other hand, again, it's like both poses are very similar in that it doesn't feel like there's just much going on. But, I don't know, one arm up isn't as good as two, so we'll go with silver. Slugma, these are actually different, even though at first glance they don't look different. Silver version looks like he's actually moving a little more, so we'll go with silver. And then gold version, and then Magcargo. Again, silver version, he's doing a little bit more. There's a little bit more life to this art, so we'll go with silver here too. Swinub, I think these were the exact same, so there's no real winner here. And Piloswine is actually not the same, even though there's not a whole lot going on. But I actually like the angle better of silver because you can actually see the tusks better. Gold version is just, I don't know, it's a little awkward. Corsola, there's not much different here. Both these sprites are just kind of eh. I think I like gold a little bit better. Remoraid, it's more or less the same sprite, just one's facing up and one's facing down. I'm actually going to go silver version on this one. Octillery is pretty much about the same. It's just one is angled a little differently, but silver version is a little more towards the screen, where gold is a little more off to the left. So we're going to go with silver. Then we got Delibird. Both these poses are kind of weird, but Delibird's a weird Pokemon anyways, but I think I like silver version better. Mantine, I definitely have to give to silver. Like I said, I mentioned Pidgeot, and probably a few of the other birds. I really like that it's wings. I don't know if you can call them that on a manta ray, but they're up, like it's, flapping, it's in action. Gold versions isn't bad, but silver versions just looks like there's more going on. Skarmory, Skarmory is one of those Pokemon that also got really fucked up in Gold and Silver and had to be corrected in Crystal. And while Silver version could have a cool art to it, I think Gold version just looks a little more bird-like, and so I like that one better. Houndour, I think this is another one that they end up having to fix, although maybe not as much as Houndoom. We'll give this one to Gold version because he's just kind of like barking, but really there's not much difference here. Houndoom, there's a lot different going on, and Houndoom went through a drastic change. I'm really not sure why. I think they made it a little more, a little less like he looked like a dog from hell. But I like Gold versions better with the little flame coming out. Kingdra, there's not really a whole lot difference here either. Even the angle that they're at is almost identical, but I like the way silver version looks more like it's swimming towards whatever it's looking at, so we're gonna go with silver. Vampy, there's not really a lot different here either, but I like silver version's a bit better. Same thing goes with Dawn Fan. Silver version, it's got the trunk up, and it's kind of shouting something, whereas gold version is just staring you down intimidatingly, but silver version just looks better. Same thing here with Porygon 2. It just looks better in silver. Stantler just looks weird overall. It's just one of those Pokemon I never cared for. But in gold version, I don't know why it's down on its, like, if you can call them knees. I think silver version has the better pose, even though neither one of them look great. Smeargle is another one of those Pokemon I never really cared for, and it really doesn't do anything. But silver version's pose looks a little bit better. Tyrogue is... I always forget Tyrogue's even a Pokemon. You got Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, you got the iconic 2, you got the iconic third one that was added with Hitmontop, and you just kind of forget there's a baby version. I really don't like either one of them, but I guess silver version, I like the angle a bit better. It's a little less two-dimensional. Hitmontop, these are almost identical poses, with the difference being like the lower half is turned. I think I like gold version because I like the way the leg is kicked out towards the same way he's facing. Smoochum just looks pissed off in both these arts, but gold version looks a little better due to the angle it's at, so we're going to give this one to gold. Elekid, I like both of these, but I think silver version, there's a little more life going on here, and even though I normally don't like the poses that are angled like that, I think this one looks alright. Magby, both of these poses are great, but there's something about the coloration to the one in gold version. I do like that he's spitting the little flame, but the way his stomach is colorized is actually messed up. So I think silver version's a little more accurate and looks a little bit better. Miltank is Miltank. There's not a whole lot going on in either of these, but silver version, I guess, looks a little better. I'm not really a fan of either of these Blissey arts, but I think I like the silver version a little bit better. It's a little more rounded. Raikou, oh my god, this one, first of all, these two sprites are the same, so neither game gets Raikou, but the sprite is so off from the actual design that it almost could be a different Pokemon. Entei, again, this is the same sprite, no difference whatsoever, so again, no game gets it, and same thing with Suicune, no game gets it. Suicune gets a little bit of a different sprite with Crystal version, but not by much. Larvitar, on the other hand, I want to go with silver version because I like how he's just staring you down, but the pose that gold version has and the glare that he has, just like, come on, try it. I think I gotta give it to gold version. Pupitar, neither one of these is really great, but again, Pupitar is like Metapod and Kakuna. There's not really a whole lot you can do with it, and gold version looks a little bit better in this instance. Now Tyranitar, the big boss himself, or herself. Both good designs. I kind of like the way the spines are done on the back for gold version, but silver version, just there's a little more going on. He looks a little more angry, and I got to give it to silver. Now this is going to be really controversial with Lugia, and probably Ho-Oh too, but I actually think the sprite in gold version looks better for Lugia, and here's why. So the one in silver version is iconic. The wings are up, he's, flying towards you, but I really like how in gold versions, his wings are more like spread out, where he looks like he's more in, not so much in a flight pose like in silver, but look, he's actually either about to attack or flap his wings to blow you away. So I actually think I have to give the silver mascot to gold version. And then Ho-Oh, again, the same thing. I think, especially for Ho-Oh, gold versions, because that is more or less the iconic pose that Ho-Oh has, even in the gold version box art. Silver version doesn't look bad by any means, and in a way, it's head crested and looks a little bit better in silver version, but it's just the way the wings are and just that iconic Ho-Oh pose, it just has to go to gold. And then last but not least, we got Celebi. I gotta give this one to silver version, even though it's kind of like I don't know, it looks like it's sitting on something, kind of head tilted back, looking at you. Gold version just looks like a weird Celebi plush from like the late 90s that really just had low quality, and I'm not a fan of that one. But there it is, all 252 Pokemon, all 502 sprites, and that's a lot to go through. This video ended up being way too fucking long, and I hope I can cut it down for it to be nowhere near as long as it looks like it's going to be, but I don't have the exact counts. I should have kept count as I was going through this, and I did not, but I'm pretty confident in saying that Silver version has the higher count for better sprites. I'll have the numbers up on screen so you'll see it as you're watching this. There'll be no questioning it unless you're, sitting there counting along as you're watching this video. This was a project I've had in the works for a while. It took quite a while to get the sources to be able to go through this video, but I really did not expect for it to take this long, so I'm really hoping we can cut this down into a much more manageable video besides me just having to go and cut it down to me going gold, silver, silver, gold, because that's boring and you want to know why. But that's going to be it for this video. I have more to do, so hopefully you guys like videos like this. I really like diving into things that are game related but aren't just gameplay, because there's a lot of stuff outside of actually playing the games that's interesting to me. So, but there it is. Which game had the better sprites? Again, I think Silver takes the cake, but what do you guys think? And if you're wondering about Crystal, well, don't worry, that's coming up soon. We're going to go ahead and get the freak out of here, though, and we'll see you guys in the next video.